I did want to ask you boys as well before the end of the show. What did you guys make of Chelsea this weekend? Because I saw a video. I can't work out if he's really young, but sounds old, or if he's really old and looks young. There's some lad talking on Chelsea Fan TV, because I feel like I've seen him on it for years, and he's a bit like Benjamin Button, I think. I don't know, right? And I mean it in the nicest possible way. And he was having a go at Chelsea fans for celebrating beating Wolves, saying our standards are low, we shouldn't be celebrating it. But where do you guys stand with Chelsea? Because they've had a lot of stick this year, but they are third in the league. I think they're, 6 points off the top. What did you make of them over the course of the weekend?
What? Well, we can't just celebrate a win. So we can't celebrate a win. We can't. Standards. We can moan when we're losing. So can we only celebrate when we win a league? Is that the only time you can celebrate? Like what? What are we doing here? Ridiculous. Like Chelsea. That's what I said a few weeks ago after the Sunderland game. I was like, why are we jumping on it to say Chelsea are in crisis? Do you know what I mean? Like they're gonna have to any team that is probably like third to 10th and are trying to push for like a Champions League place, they're going to have like bad weeks. Spurs are going to have bad weeks. You know what I mean? And that's what I said after the Chelsea game. Yes, it was disappointing. But at the end of the day, you're going to have these games where just maybe you're not at it and you're going to drop points. And like, I think last year you needed 65 points to get top 5, I think it was. So like 65 points, you're probably going to drop points in nearly half your games because that's just like the way it is. Like Chelsea, I think Sanchez has done okay as a goalkeeper. I still think that's an area that they're probably looking to strengthen. But they have quality in their team. And this is like without Palmer, who's probably one of their, if not their best, he is their best player. Do you know what I mean? And he's been out for a good while. Estevao looks good. They have a really good midfield with Casado. Enzo, I think there's a good mix between the two of them. And then you have Reece James, who's kind of playing a little bit further forward. Gusto, I really rate as a right back. Kukurea is probably playing the best football of his career in the last 2 years. But they have a lot of good things about them. But like that, because they're a young team. I seen a weird stat that Maresca's never played a player over the age of 30. Now I don't know how true that was. I had to fact check it, but like it's something crazy. Like
that's a problem.
I don't know if they've got any, have they?
Yeah. He doesn't play players over the age of 30. And I think that's where like they'll be a little bit up and down because they don't have the experience of someone like that. When you talk about maybe you need that blend to probably be like a really good team. Like you look at Liverpool last year, they had Salah and Van Dijk as the experience, and they had like a lot of the younger players, but they had to kind of nurture and make sure that they were going to firmly on the feet were on the ground. But yeah, like I'm exactly where I thought Chelsea would be. Like, and I don't think you can expect anything more from that team right now. If I was a Chelsea fan,
yeah, I don't think that. Any fan mad at them celebrating are just being stupid. They just drop points to carry.
George, I'm going to go back to you. This is the video that I was talking about.
No standards. You know, I celebrate when we win. I was positive when we beat Tottenham, and I'm still fairly positive. But boys, like, this should be a routine. Guys, where's your standards? Please, someone tell me.
Like, you know what I mean? But I can't work out if he's a 30-year-old man who looks like a kid or a kid who talks like a 30-year-old man. I think he's brilliant. But the standards thing, right? I just look at it and think no one spoke like that until the last 4 or 5 years ever. I mean, I've been around football my whole life, George, and I don't remember anyone ever being annoyed at other people. But I mean, they weren't having a parade. They were just, hey, we won. I don't quite get I don't get it.
It's all like a bit, I think it's just social media, isn't it? Like everyone who wants to be the person to stand on something and to be sort of stand for something. That's what it is. And the new age of football fans is I'm going to stand for standards. And if my club ain't winning a title, then we ain't being good enough, without completely taking away the fact that football's an emotional game. You're supposed to be in the moment and you know, feel the moment. That's the whole part of going to a stadium, is feeling the atmosphere, celebrating with your team, because the emotion in that game is great. Nobody's gonna go to a stadium and sit there arms folded and just be like, yeah, 1-0, 2-0, and just nodding their head, because there's no point then. Like, so yeah, I just think fans are overdoing it. That's definitely a kid, and he's probably learned from his pops or something, you know, Standards FC, and one of those things. But ultimately, look, Chelsea are a team who, like Jamie said, they've got a lot of young players. So I think they're going to have a lot of ups and downs. And that's probably why their fans are celebrating this more than anything, because they've had so many ups and downs. They beat Tottenham last week, then they drew to a rubbish team. And before they beat Tottenham, I think they lost or something like that. They was on a bad run of form as well.
They lost to Sunderland, the last kick of the game.
Yeah, so like they're a team that have been very up and down. They have a good game, have a rubbish game, have a good game. So fans are going to celebrate that and celebrate their wins when they come. Whether it's Wolves or anyone else, it's 3 points in the Premier League.
Yeah, the Standards FC thing, I feel it's become an online phenomenon. That essentially, and I don't know this young man, so I'm not speaking about him specifically, I'm talking in generals here. I feel like it's something people like, because then when they tweet or they make TikToks or they make YouTube videos, depending on which medium you're using, or all of them, if your standards are up here and anything below it enables you to moan, it pretty much means if your standards are so high that nearly every day looks like failure, it enabled you just to be able to rant every day. Where if you have what I think have always been normal and correct standards of you want to get to this level, but you're going to enjoy a win, you're going to celebrate, because what his standards tell me is, are you telling me you didn't cheer the goals in the moment? How, like, again, what are the rules here? Like, how long after the goals go in do you have to calm down and be completely deadpan and silent because you've got to have high standards? And I don't kind of get it. And I feel this way. We speak about teams. I think what we say and do as fans can help our clubs. I think sometimes we can hurt them. But I think that the players seeing fans happy can help them perform. The same as much as it's right that fans voice their concerns towards players, I think when you get a nervousness in a stadium, you get a frustration in a stadium, that can affect the way the players play on the pitch as well. And I feel that if we just take away celebrating wins and fans being happy, I don't know, and I'm spitballing here, but I don't know if we actually help the players actually get better. And I just don't ever remember this being spoken about before. People, my whole life, celebrated wins. Everybody did. And I hear City fans going about standards, you've got to have high standards. But I remember you, man, celebrating when you beat Man United when you weren't a good team. None of you cared about standards then. But yet now everyone, and by the way, it isn't just like the elite clubs. I saw people having to go at Sunderland fans for celebrating an equaliser. Look at your low standards, celebrating equalisers and draws. And I'm like, do you not realise, again, it's why my series exists. If we actually take that mentality and apply it unilaterally, football dies. Football, it literally means that, think about how many professional clubs are in England, pro clubs are in England. I don't all play in the league. What, 200, 250? It means only one of them each year can celebrate, because only one of them won the biggest league in the country. It's crazy to me. It's really mental. I think we've got to do something as football fans to push back against it. But Chelsea themselves, I thought were really good. I thought they were really, really, really good. And I know Wolves haven't had a good season so far, but I'm not going to take that away from Chelsea. I'm not just going to give them no credit whatsoever. They played really well. They scored goals. They looked excellent. Esteval come on. He's a breath of fresh air in the Premier League. I love watching him play. I thought Garnacho had an excellent game as well. I will say that. Caicedo just doing Caicedo things again. Enzo was good. Very, very good game. I think it's good for Chelsea. They get to go into it's always nice to win that game before you go into the international break. Put yourself into a good position in the league, because the real business starts after the. I always feel like once this international break's done, we then get like 3.5 months of solid football. That's when the men are separated from the boys, I think, in this game, because even teams like us that are not in Europe, you start playing 2 games a week because there's multiple, you get the festive period, which is great. It really to separate things. So yeah, enjoy the win, Chelsea fans. This year just shows you how possessive. What was that word say?
Pervasive.
Those standard discussions. If younger fans like that are talking that way, those kids.
What age did you say he?
I don't know. It sounds like, honestly, he probably 13 max, 14 max.
Like 13, I was just going to games and watching, like, what was it? Torres and Gerrard. I was just like, this is deadly. I'm not thinking about standards. Do you know what I mean? I'm just thinking about how enjoyable going to matches and watching my team play is.
Don't you think too much time?
Crazy.
They're sitting there seeing standards. They're like, I like that. Standards. We ain't got standards. We're celebrating Wolves. It's just be happy.
But I suppose the standards thing though is no different to that thing, the 6'7" thing. It's youngsters are seeing YouTubers go on about it. They're going, well, he gets millions of views and he gets millions of views, and oh my god, he's got 500,000 followers on X, and look, he's got 100,000 subs. And I think that's children are impressionable, and for me, teaching children to not enjoy winning football matches is crazy to me, and I think it's deadly. And I think there are wider implications, because I do actually find a lot of people, I follow a few of the Standard FC people just to like watch. They're also people who often you see an Andrew Tate thing shared. They're kind of manosphere people, if that makes sense. I think it's all part of that like high value person. And we had Kane, who came on our show, is a Newcastle fan who comes on. He said this in the summer, so I want to give him credit for what he said. He essentially feels that the standard stuff that's come in is people trying to project themselves as a higher value person. I'm a better person. I'm better than you because I have high standards. I'm a really good man. And I think there's some truth in that part of it. I really do think it's if you are somebody that is okay with Man United being 7th in this moment, that shows that there's something off with you. You're a bit sus. Are you a bit weak? You don't have high standards. Do you let your girlfriend go on dates with other men type thing? I think they actually think it's a reflection of your overall personality, which is absolutely horrendous, because it doesn't make any sense, because there are billionaires that tweet about football online who are very successful, high value men who are like, oh, I'll take that draw. We weren't that good today. Are you saying them being happy with the draw is a reflection of how bad a person they are whilst they're on a billion pound company? It doesn't make any sense. I do think there's a real safeguarding issue here, like a genuine. I think there is a real deep issue, deep enough to swim in, where I don't like the fact that kids are looking at football and thinking like that, because it's taking all the enjoyment away. But it's the wider implication of what else are they listening to, and what other fucking warped views of the world do they have. Like, we've got to be very, very careful with that, because I think having standards are important, but also having context to those standards is key. But celebrating a win in football and just like enjoying it and chanting your team's name as you're walking out of the stadium, to say that shouldn't be happening unless it's like a really big team or you won a trophy, I think it's a ridiculous standard to have. I think it's killing the game.
Unless your team is coming up against a League 2 side and you're a Premier League team, yeah, you might not celebrate that game. It's League 2. You're not going to celebrate playing against a lower league side. If
you're playing someone like Grimsby, you'd obviously win. You know what I
mean? David here says Straight Facts is a great show, and as a standard, it must uphold, right? So where I see this as a different situation is this show has been around for a long time and has been growing, and we try and get it better all the time. This is my view. This is the context of which I'm talking about. Chelsea are a team that fell off and they're on their way back up, and they've won a game well, and they're in a good position in the league, and they're celebrating in the moment. My point of view is this, David. You are a new content creator who doesn't get the same views that I do. If you did a show though, and that's not because I'm better or worse, it's a time in the game situation. If you upload a video tomorrow that's 5,000 views, what I wouldn't expect is for you to go, still shit though, because that ain't as much as Terry gets. My standards are high. I'm not going to celebrate a milestone. I'm not going to celebrate a good day. That, for me, you're a personal trainer, and I know for a fact that you have clients at different levels of fitness and physical levels, even though there's a standard of them all trying to get to the same point. You definitely encourage people on their way to achieving what they need to achieve. You don't just sit there and go, you get the praise when you reach the top. So for me, there are standards, but we remove context. And I think removing that, I understand why children are impressionable, but you're not a child, David. You're a grown man. And I know you understand it absolutely to the nth degree, that yes, there are standards to be upheld, but you cannot remove the context of a situation. You know, you cannot do it whatsoever. And I think pushing a message that football fans can't sing and have fun after winning a Premier League game 3-0 when they've spent real big money to go to all these games, saying that don't do that, where are the standards? I personally think, I'll be honest with you, you're entitled to say it, but I think it has no place in football. I think it's terrible for our game.
I just think when you do this standard stuff, you're pretty much setting the standard that you can only celebrate, let's just say, once a year when you win the title. But even when you win the title, you can't be too happy because that's the standard. You're not overachieving. You're just reaching the standard. So it don't really make any sense. It's like a backwards way of thinking because you can never celebrate that.
But this is the thing, and David said, yes, I agree. So after all that, he agrees. But you should celebrate all wins, but standards are still important. No one says having standards isn't important. This is the problem with the conversation. Standards are, of course, are important. But if you create a standard that's ridiculous, that standard must be called out. So you can't, we can only celebrate the wins that are against, say, big teams or that win trophies. That is a standard that shouldn't exist and it should be challenged. And you agree with it because you said you should celebrate all wins. Nobody has made the statement that having any type of standard is wrong. But if the standard is you should be unhappy with all your content you're making on YouTube, David, until you get the same numbers as Goldbridge, and you cannot have one single moment of happiness or with growth or progression, that's a ridiculous standard set against content creators. Because
it's actually, a big six.
Sorry, go on.
It's a big six thing as well. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, we have this standard that we should be like winning a league or Champions League every single year. It's and then they're the like that standards FC. Do you know what I mean? Like if you look at, say, like Palace last year and like the run that they went on and like the emotion that they would have had as a club to win an FA Cup. Do you know what I mean? And obviously what they've done is like winning the Community Shield and stuff. Like they're just in the moment. Do you know what I mean? They're just going like game on game and they're enjoying it. Do you know what I mean? And that's what football is about in the end. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I think that Chelsea fans should enjoy that win. You know, I would have been unhappy with Man United's performance, even if we'd have nicked a late winner against Spurs. I weren't happy with certain areas, but I still celebrate the win. I'd still sing my team's name, and I don't think we should be advocate. That's why I call out the pundits when they say teams and players over celebrate. No, we need more of that, especially when they call Arteta out for it, but then love Maresca running down the touchline when he scores a winning. We need more of that in the game, and you know. None of us spoke about this. Is why I reject it fundamentally in the game of football. Is that no one ever spoke about that when we were kids. Our parents didn't speak about it. Pundits didn't speak about it. Journalists never spoke about it. Fans never spoke about it. It wasn't even being discussed on social media to begin with. Now Arsenal fans were upset with the level they'd dropped to, but they would still, in those Wenger out days, on days they won games. All the guys that are now pushing Standards FC weren't sitting on the game while you're all celebrating. They were bigging up their team. Go back and watch the content. It's out there. By and large, in the last 5 to 6 years, it's become pushed as an agenda. And my honest belief why it was pushed is because it enables people to consistently moan, because that's how they get traction online. What then happens is the people consuming it go, well, that just must be the standard because it's all I'm seeing from certain people. So they apply it. But if you extrapolate it and you push it to its nth degree, it will kill football to think like that. And that's what you should always do with anything you think of. Is that right or wrong? You should look at it in a wider angle. Does that actually fit? We had this conversation on Straight Facts before, where we had people in the comments agreeing that teams like Luton and Brighton lack ambition because they don't spend the same amount of money as City do to try and win the league. Like, again, that's what Standards FC did to footballing conversations. I will always push back against it 1,000%. 1,000%. That needs to be done. Someone here says we grew up with our standards sky high. That's why. Not football fans in general, but again, when you say we grew up with our standards sky high, that's not. It is true because we were at a good level, but when Man United beat Arsenal to end the run of 50 games, nobody said war a trophy. Because we didn't win the league the year before, and we didn't win the league the year before. We actually come third, and we didn't win the league in the year that we beat them, and we didn't win the league the year after. But there wasn't a single, because I was at that game, there wasn't a single Arsenal fan, because we bantered the Gooners afterwards, right? Nobody was like, what a trophy. It was just, you were allowed to celebrate that moment. Now, right? Now, if a team does it, it's what a trophy, how low your standards are. Look where you are in the league. You didn't win the league title last year. What are you talking about? It's changed. It didn't exist. I lived it. I remember it, you know?